Well, the Rockies were on the wrong side of history once again, this time against the Seattle Mariners. But while I was in Seattle, I couldn't help but think to myself, maybe there's something the Rockies can learn from their friends on the West Coast. We talk about that and more coming up next on the DNVR Rockies podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome in to the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365. Place a bet for $5. You can get $150 back in bonus bets. Welcome into the show. I am still in Seattle, Washington, the nice, beautiful sunshine state of Washington, wrapping up an insane series of baseball for the Colorado Rockies where they basically went to Seattle and got completely destroyed. But there was some history that was made, and that was kind of fun to see. And so we got to watch some crazy baseball over the last few days, and now the Rockies are wrapping things up. Got some good storylines to touch on today, and to be honest, I can't lie, I'm just excited for the postseason. Like October baseball is right around the corner, and I could not be more excited to watch the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think, we haven't had Rockies playoff baseball in a long, long time, but I think this might be the most excited I've been to watch the playoffs since the Rockies were in it. Since the 2017, 2018 years, I not tune out baseball, but it's definitely not as once the World Series rolls around, I'm like, all right, I'm going to lock in for the World Series. It's just every pitch is intense. It's like a Super Bowl, but you get it 7 times. It's a lot of fun, but this season with the storylines with obviously where the Rockies have been at, and then seeing the teams they're playing now. The Mariners obviously are a big player in the AL. A lot of, their division, it looks like the Diamondbacks are not going to make the playoffs, but there is going to be 2 teams from the Rockies division in the playoffs. Obviously, always rooting against the Dodgers and the Padres. You got a great storyline with the Brewers. The Cubs are back. There's just a lot of fun in the playoffs this year. The Astros look like they're going to maybe miss the playoffs. The Guardians have been on an insane hot streak. So there's a lot of good storylines headed into it. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I am too. And we're going to talk more about the postseason stuff as it comes up here in the show. There's some crazy matchups that we could see here in the next couple weeks. But I want to talk a little bit about what I saw in Seattle, because this has been a crazy trip for me for many reasons. One, if you guys have watched the show, you know I'm from Seattle. So this is a bit of a homecoming for me. My whole family's here. I'm actually at my mom's house. These are her, oh, that side. These are her Halloween decorations. So we're visiting family here, but also got to watch some insane baseball. And if you know anything about Major League Baseball, you know that the Mariners are kind of the Rockies of the West Coast. And maybe that's just me saying that, but the Seattle Mariners have never really been good. They've never been to a World Series. They've only made the playoffs, I think, 6 times, and they've been a team or they've been an organization for, I think, almost 16 more years than the Rockies have been around. And the last time the Mariners won the AL West division was in 2001 on a pretty stacked team with Ichiro and A-Rod and Ken Griffey Jr. and all those guys. But ever since then, the Mariners have been terrible. And they've had some pretty good guys playing for their teams. I was actually texting you about this, Spencer. Like the Mariners have had Felix Hernandez, Adrian Beltre. You've had Ken Griffey Jr., Ichiro. You've had Raul Ibanez. You've had some really good all-star caliber players. And yet they've had one postseason appearance since 2001. And for the first time, in decades, the Mariners are actually good again. And so I was sitting in the press box watching the city of Seattle, watching just the experience that all these fans who have been starved of postseason baseball for decades, watching them watch this team. And I couldn't help but feel like that could be the Rockies one day. Now, obviously, we're a long, long way from that, right? But again, I grew up in Seattle. I never thought this would happen. When we're looking at 2010, Seattle Mariners. It's like the worst, one of the worst teams that you'd ever see. And you had a couple good guys here or there, but you never expected those teams to be making it to the playoffs. The ownership sucked. The front office was super stubborn. And Mariners fans felt like they would never see the postseason again. So to see it happening, albeit after 2 decades of waiting, to see them win the division, to see them have, the best baseball player probably in all of baseball this year, in Cal Raleigh, at least offensively. Like it just gives me a little bit of hope that one day the Rockies will eventually figure it out, even if we have to wait a long time.
Yeah, and Burge actually popped off the show. I don't know if you saw this comment, but right the first comment of the show, he said, with the Mariners and DePoto, I'm surprised that management stuck with his regime for 6 years and then promoted him to head of baseball operations before they even made the playoffs. And that brings up a very interesting point with what we're dealing with here in Colorado, from the fact of like not a single person, and then some of the comments later, fire sale, we deserve a source outside the organization to clean house, blah, blah, blah. Like, theoretically, maybe sticking with Bill Schmidt is the right move. I'm not saying it is, and I don't think anyone in their right mind that watches the Rockies believes that. But it does go to show you that some consistency or believing in your people and making sure that they get the right people in there can be better than just consistently firing your GM, firing your front office. Now, the Rockies don't exactly line up that way, because every time a GM gets promoted, it's just somebody from scouting or somebody inside the organization. So I'm not saying it's a one-to-one, but it is an interesting point to think the Mariners, could have fired DePoto 6 years ago or 5 years ago, and they were every year. We talked about this on the show. Every year, the Mariners go into spring training and have a good April, and you're like, oh, is this the year? And then it doesn't happen. And if that happens 4 or 5 years in a row, it's kind of shocking that they held on to a guy that long and then even promoted him, which I'm sure at the time, if you found a Mariners podcast or anybody talking about that in the organization, they're like, what are we doing here? And that's what the spot we're in right now. Now, not saying that keeping Bill Schmidt around or promoting somebody from within to be the GM and then finding a director of baseball operations or president of baseball operations is going to make us make the playoffs in 2030 or 4 or 5 years from now. But it's an interesting dynamic where you see sometimes it does pay to hang on to the people that, there's going to be ups and downs, but some consistency in your organization isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah, and look, Seattle is an interesting place because I also, one of the things, this is the first travel series I've gone on this year, and it gave some good perspective to what it's like being around a winning organization. Like, you talk about all the time in sports, like winning is contagious. I think it goes beyond just the actual baseball element too. Like the Mariners did an incredible job of not just being a good baseball team this year. I mean, they've been on the hottest streak in baseball recently, along with the Guardians, but also they've captured the city's attention. Like I was looking at some of the intangibles around the stadium. Like the Mariners do winning this year really, really well. They've got a live DJ playing during batting practice. They've designated cheering sections. Like they have this entire section out in the center field called the J-Rod Squad. They've got multiple in-game hype hosts. They've invested in winning. It's not just an on-field product. And I think that's some of the things we've seen. I actually just saw an ESPN article come out, I think it was just yesterday, on why the Rockies are so bad. And Warren Schaefer was actually quoted in the article as saying, hey, if you could change something right now, like from an organizational perspective, what would you change? And his response was, I'd love to get more information on how best to use my players, like kind of like scouting and analytics is basically what I translated that to mean. The Mariners do a very good job of investing in not just the baseball side of things. Yes, they have good players. Yes, they have a good scouting department, and they can develop their players really well. Because you've had some incredible talent that have come through Seattle over the last couple decades, despite not making the postseason. But they do a very good job of investing in all the other areas. Hell, one of the coolest things that I actually saw from just a visible experience there was the Mariners, when the home team is taking batting practice, they actually have all of the live metrics of batting practice shown on the big screen. So they have exit velo, they have how far the ball went, they have launch angle. All of that's actually shown for the players on the big screen during batting practice, right? It like the players, instead of having to walk around and talk to the coach, about what did the iPad say during BP, like what was the launch angle on that last one. They can actually see on the big screen what their analytics are from that batting practice session. So it's just little stuff like that where I'm like, you go to a place like Seattle and you see that and you're like, they're just a step above. They're just a step above in that experience and how they're doing all of that. And so I think if there's something the Rockies can learn aside from just an organizational overhaul where you're getting rid of the front office and all that kind of stuff, it still, we hash on that point of you gotta invest outside of just the baseball side of things, and that continues to be something that I notice. And maybe they can look at a series like against the Mariners and hopefully learn from something like that.
Yeah, and I will not push back on you a little bit because you've never seen it as a Rockies fan, but the Rockies you have to put a winning product on the field first to get all this exciting stuff in September. But the Rockies will and have in their very few playoff appearances in their career or history of the organization, they do put a great product out there during those times, and they can put on a show and they can do those same things. I don't know if we'll ever get to see it. Hopefully DNVR Rockies is still me and you, and we get to see a playoff run and we can come on and talk about 20th and Blake being banging. But I do remember 2017, 2018 when the Brewers were in town. It was like, all right, this was unreal. The city is popping. The place is full. The field. And I actually listened to an interview yesterday with, by the way, Ryan Roland Smith, one of the Mariners broadcasters. Obviously great last name, Smith. But the Australian accent is unbelievable. I listened to the game and like a highlight of the game just in his voice because it was that good. But then they had him on one of the local radio stations out here yesterday, and he was talking about the Rockies and crazy enough. So the Kreckman and Lindahl from the afternoon show everybody's down on the Rockies, and deservedly so. But they were talking about how bad the Rockies are, and Ryan Roland Smith actually came back at them with, "We've had it worse than you, basically, because we haven't made the playoffs since '01." And I'm not saying that Denver radio or anybody that talks about the Rockies needs to give them any grace. That's not what I'm arguing here. But there are places where it's worse than the last 10 years that we've had, let's put it that way, with 2 playoff appearances and chance to win divisions and stuff like that. Like, there is worse scenarios out there. And so, yeah, the Mariners are having fun right now, but the Mariners the last 10 to 15 years before this Rockies 300 season loss, in a row, there's other teams that are like, I wish we were the Rockies. And that seems absolutely insane to say, but it was crazy to hear from a guy that, played for the Mariners and now broadcasts for them, basically telling the Denver radio guys, we've had it worse than you, especially the last 25 years.
Yeah, I just hope the Rockies don't take 21 years to figure it out, right? Like that's where my concern is. Because yes, you and I have sat here before and said plenty of times, the Rockies will one day figure it out. Maybe it's not a World Series, in the next couple years or next couple decades, but they'll go back to the playoffs within the next 20 years, you would hope, right? But I hope I hope it doesn't take that long. Like, that's where I'm at this point. But I see Luke in the chat said that ESPN article was rough. Why haven't the Rockies started the process already? It's a concerning take. I want to talk about that a little bit on the show because the more I was reading into that, the more I was talking to people around the organization, I was a little concerned about that as well. So I want to touch on that specifically, but I just want to wrap up, this kind of first part of this conversation, in just reminding us that it will eventually get better. Because I feel like so many Rockies fans, I've seen this said time and time again, the Rockies will never be good. Until Dick Monfort sells the team, the Rockies will never be good. They'll never go back to the playoffs. They're the worst team in the history of baseball. And it's easy to feel that way when you're when you're sitting here, as the worst team in the history of baseball almost. And it feels like it can't get any worse. But trust me, Mariners fans have had it pretty bad, and they've had it for 20 plus years. The Rockies will eventually get back to the postseason. Maybe they'll get to a World Series in our lifetime, and we'll be looking back on 2025 and saying, God, those were the days that we we were just struggling through it. So hopefully, if there's something at least that I learned from the Seattle series, it's that change can come even if it takes a long time. But yeah, after this first break, I want to talk about that last topic that Luke was talking about. Are the changes for the Rockies front office too far on the horizon? Are we waiting too long to see the Rockies make any meaningful moves? And also, is this impending or impeding 2027 lockout? Is that going to change the way the Rockies approach this offseason? I want to talk about those things after this break. Well, I want to give some love to our friends right now over at Coors Light because Coors Light is the official light beer of DNVR and the Colorado Rockies. And I got to watch some awesome baseball out in Seattle. And I got to say, it's kind of cool walking around T-Mobile Park. I believe built by the same company that built Coors Field, so it's this very similar vibes. But it's weird walking around a stadium without everything being Coors Light, right? You go around Coors Field, not only just the name being Coors, but there's little Coors Light stands all over the stadium, and in
The
Seattle, it's not as much.
the
And
silver bullet
yeah,
bar.
yeah, exactly. The Silver Bullet Bar. I mean, it's very Coors Light dominant stadium, and that's great because it's truly the best light beer. The baseball it goes perfectly with Coors Light, but I was a little bit disappointed by the beer scene in Seattle. I mean, I know they have some other good beers here in Seattle, but nothing goes better with baseball than Coors Light. And although we don't get to see baseball in Colorado anymore in 2025. There's never a bad time to enjoy a good Coors Light. So whether you're going out to Broncos games, Avs games, Nuggets games, or you're just hanging out with some friends at a local bar, or maybe you're just hanging out at home watching some football from your couch, crack open an ice cold, refreshing Coors Light and make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company based in Golden, Colorado. Also, got to give some love to our friends over at Toyota. You guys all know Toyota is a personal favorite of mine. I just got a brand new Toyota, but being in Seattle, I don't have my new Toyota RAV4 that I've been driving in Colorado, but I get to do something kind of cool. I get to drive my mom's Toyota Tacoma, which is always fun. And I got to say, like I've driven a handful of different types of Toyotas. The RAV4 now. I used to have the Highlander. I started out driving in a Toyota Camry. Get to drive my mom's Tacoma. You just can't go wrong with Toyota. Toyota is truly the best. Any way you go, whether you're going with a more of an SUV type or you're going with a truck. I know Spence has the Tundra. He's driving around in the souped up DNVR truck. I think that's the Tundra, right? The
Yeah,
DNVR
the
one.
2025 Tundra. And let me tell you, I took that today because I'm headed up to Boulder and I had to park it in our lot. And it's not going to be fun getting that big thing out of our parking lot at DNVR. It's going to be a 20-point turn for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You could go large size SUV or big truck, or you can go with something a little bit smaller like the Camry or the Highlander. I mean, you can't go wrong with Toyota. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. All right. So that article that came out on ESPN was interesting. And if you haven't read it yet, it's nothing monumental. You got some quotes that came up. You got a Chris Bryant quote. You got to hear from Walker Monfort a couple times. Warren Schaefer put in his insights into that. It's a good read, but it's not gonna shock your world. However, I think the biggest takeaway for me was at the end they were talking about the fact that some executives across Major League Baseball who remained anonymous, but some rival executives were kind of scratching their heads as to, hey, why have the Rockies not made any meaningful changes yet? I mean, obviously you let go of Bud Black and you let go of Bam Bam, the hitting coach, early in the season, but since then there's been no front office changes. We all kind of expect front office changes to happen, but the point they made in the article, or that these executives were making in the article, was that what are you waiting for at this point, right? The minute the season ends, you should be making decisions on how you build your roster for 2026. And so instead of, to my understanding, doing a front office overhaul the minute the season ends and then going through a hiring process, bringing someone new in, and then letting them have to figure out kind of at a delayed start, figure out how they want to build the team for 2026. This rival executive was arguing, hey, you should have already made these decisions. What are you waiting on? Right? You need this new person in place day one of the offseason coming up on Monday to say this is how I'm going to build my team in 2026, and we're off to the races. So I wanted to get your take on that, Spence. Like, do you think that is a good point? Do you think it doesn't really matter at this point? I mean, what are your thoughts? Because I think you and I have both kind of been of the understanding of like, hey, it's not a big deal. Wait till the season ends. But that was an interesting point that that those executives were making in the article.
Well, I'll start with I don't know the rules of, hiring new execs in baseball. Like, I know there's other sports where in the NFL, if you want to hire a coach, and they're in the playoffs, you have to kind of wait to interview them, et cetera. But I'll do my best at spinning this situation and what the other execs said into a positive, in the fact that the Rockies will be looking outside the organization, and if general sports rules are in place, they can't go hire somebody else from X team right now because they're still with that team. Now, I don't know if there's conversations being had. I don't know if that's even allowed. I don't know the rules on that part of it. So I'll be clear, that this is just my take, and my hope is that they are attempting to talk to some people, some assistant GMs from other organizations that will come in and be either the president of baseball operations or the GM or both, and that they're going to be from other organizations where they can't really be hired until next Monday when the season's over. So that's my hope. I know we've seen some promotions. There was one that was posted on our Discord the other day about, I think it was the Cardinals?
The Nationals.
The Nationals, excuse me.
The Nationals, I was actually just pulling this up. They just named Taboni. What's his first name? Paul Taboni. Their new head of baseball operations. He was the assistant GM for the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, okay. So see, maybe I'm wrong. So I am clearly wrong, and we're clearly hosed. But that was a great 2 minutes of me on my soapbox about them hiring somebody else. Wait, are the Red Sox in the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay. Other plan foiled. We are not going anywhere outside the organization. We're just sitting on our hands and waiting for something to happen.
So Lefty, I saw Lefty commented. He tagged us in a comment this morning, and I thought this was a really interesting point. Of Dick Monfort's obviously very involved in ownership discussions. I believe, serves on the chair on the board of trustees, or however that works in for Major League Baseball ownership, and he's also been very outspoken about this up and coming new MLB deal that's being discussed, the potential lockout in 2027, all of that kind of stuff. And I know Dick Monfort falls on the side of he wants the salary cap and salary floor, which is obviously against what the Players Association is going for, and that's what's causing this possibility of a lockout coming up in 2027. But Lefty was bringing up the point of, is there a world in which, if Dick Monfort sees the writing on the wall, seeing that in 2027 there is going to be a lockout, which all signs are at the moment pointing towards that, does that change how he approaches this current offseason for the Rockies? Basically meaning, hey, what's the point of spending all this money, investing all of this time and energy and money and tough decisions right now, when the reality is we might not even be playing baseball in 2027? Now, that feels like a pretty soft approach, in my opinion. We're obviously not saying that's confirmed, but there is that is a factor in this. Do you think Dick Monfort would change his approach to this offseason if we haven't seen any changes coming up by, I don't know, April or something like that, or spring of next year? Are we sitting here saying, man, maybe Dick Monfort's thrown in the towel and is just waiting for a lockout in 2027?
Yeah, and I think that may be part of, if we're making an excuse for him sitting on his hands in not hiring new GMs and not doing that part of it, I can see that being a reason. But to me, the thought of a lockout in 2027 just accelerates the fact that the Rockies, being a draft and develop organization, should lean harder than ever into that. Like, if we don't see a 2026, or 2025 into 26 off-season signing of we'll just say it because it happened to Chris Bryant, right? Spending all that money, and then you may have a salary cap, you may have no baseball, you don't know what you're going to do with all of that money. You don't know if that player is going to be good or not. Like, I understand, and I will be a little bit more lenient with with that lockout looming if they don't go out and do that, right? Which is very rare in general. Obviously, Chris Bryant's kind of the last example of that, but there is the Ian Desmonds in the past, and maybe some smaller free agents that end up being good, the Mornos, the Kadires, guys like that. And then, of course, they go get the Farmers, the Martinis. Like, I actually I won't crash out as bad as I have in the past if they go do that this offseason and try to play the young guys next year. But that it leans into more of the point of the Rockies organization, or what they say they are, where if you feel like a lockout's coming, then what's the best fight against a salary cap? Not that the Rockies would ever be edging on hitting that salary cap. Maybe if there's a salary floor as well, they probably still wouldn't hit that either if they keep Chris Bryant around just to get them up to that floor. But that means you lean into, what does an NFL team do when they're hitting the salary cap? You cut the old veterans that are making too much money, and you really focus on the guys you're drafting, because you're getting them on those rookie deals that are, they're still, we saw Holiday's deal, still a lot of money for guys like us, for schmucks like us sitting behind this desk. But in the general scope of professional sports, that's not a lot of money. So lean into those rookies, lean into those guys that you're drafting, develop them, keep them around, maybe make some trades, some Mickey Moniaks or Tyler Freemans for some more AAA, AA players that are on those rookie cheap deals, and really build a nucleus through that, knowing that if there is a lockout in 2027, you're not worried about having these high-priced free agents that are either going to leave your team or you don't know where to pay them. It's kind of a cop-out for the Monforts and the front office, but at the same time, I actually believe that's the right way to go with a potential salary cap coming, or salary floor coming in 27.
Yeah, and to be completely honest, it's not going to happen. The salary cap, salary floor. Major League Baseball is going to do their best to make it happen, and that's why there's a lockout, kind of looming on the horizon. But it really, just the reality is, players are making $1 billion in contracts. Major League Baseball Players Association is not going to settle for anything less than that. You're making billions of dollars in player money, and it's just not going to change. But I agree with you. If a lockout's coming, then this is the time to be aggressive, because what does a lockout mean organizationally? It means uncertainty. It means that you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen next. So the worst thing that can possibly happen is for 2027 to show up and the Rockies to be exactly where they are today, as the worst team in baseball, with an organization that is by and large completely a disaster, and saying, oh, and now we also don't have any baseball. Like, you got to get your shit together before you go into that, because that's when everything kind of falls apart. So be aggressive now. Go get an organizational foundation. You don't need to start winning tomorrow, but get the front office figured out this offseason. I agree with you 100%. I don't care if the Rockies don't go out and sign 50 free agents in this offseason. I don't need them to go and make a bunch of big moves from a player perspective. What I need this year is for the Colorado Rockies to go out and fix their organization, fix the front office, get people in there who have different thoughts, different perspectives on how to win baseball games, and get a plan of attack on how to go forward and stick to that plan of attack. That's what I want to see this offseason. So yeah, if the lockout's coming in 2027, that's going to suck for everyone, but it's better to not be flailing about by 2027 and then start new in 2028. It's better to have that all figured out now. And I wanted to go back to Berge's last point in the chat. He said, I get the feeling that Dick's priorities focused on buying more real estate in downtown Denver. I think Dick understands that the biggest threat to his business right now, or any future business enterprises that he might be interested in, is how bad the Rockies are. The Rockies are a major anchor weighing him down organizationally, financially, all of those things. So I do think Dick should have the urgency to go make some decisions, to go make some changes. I just hope he actually follows through with it. And that's kind of all we're sitting on at this point. But now is as good a time as ever. They got to make some moves.
Yeah, they have to get ahead of something for once in their lives, and not there's too many times the Rockies have been behind on things. See Bryant, Chris, where they're signing a guy that's past his prime, hoping that he can, they've made a few moves that have gotten ahead of the times. The Mickey Moniacs, getting Tyler Freeman, good players that, getting the Herman Marquez a long time ago and kind of getting rid of Corey Dickerson. But these are all very minor in the giant scope of what they need to get ahead of. And that's the front office, the organization, the Rockies in general need to be more aligned and have a solid plan heading into next year. Whether it's the same guys on the field or not doesn't really bother me because we still have so many question marks, but it's the holistic changes that they need to make from not the bottom up, but from the top down. And the guys that are at the top, the players, yes, they're not that great. We know that. We see that. That's why they have 43 wins. But at the same time, there's another piece that's holding these players back or not allowing the players that should be here theoretically to make this team better. And that's the front office and the Rockies organization at the top.
Yeah, Spencer, I'm going to use one of your little relationship analogies here for this because I think this fits in this situation. If you're in a relationship and your relationship is failing for whatever reason, you're dating this girl and it's just not working out. You want it to work, they want it to work, but it's just not working out. What do people always tell you? They say you got to fix yourself first before you can focus on someone else. You have to fix what's inside your own head, what's inside your own body, what's it, your own stressors, anxieties, all that kind of stuff, before you can go fix, the external factors in your relationship. So the Rockies need to fix themselves first. They need to go take care of themselves. They need to do some internal counseling, so to speak, with themselves, where they fix their front office, they fix their organizational flaws, and then you can go focus on the baseball side of things. Because once you get that good foundation, that will allow you to make better decisions long term. Right now, they have a really bad foundation. That's what's caused them to be in the situation that they're in. And that's why it feels like nothing's getting better, because they're going out and they're making moves. And yeah, we brought up all these young guys, and all these young guys kind of suck now. I'm like, it's not going to get better until you get a new solid foundation. And so hopefully we see some of that in the offseason. But I did have a conversation with Warren Schaefer about how he thinks the Rockies how he thinks the Rockies should approach this offseason and the future of their organization from a success standpoint. And I kind of disagree with it. So we got to take our next break. After the break, I'll share what I'm talking about. Well, folks, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Raising Cane's because we've got game days starting to come up here. And I'm not talking about baseball. I'm talking about football. Game day is back. Whether you are watching college football, NFL, whether you're pulling your hair out over the Broncos, the Buffs, the Rams, or maybe you're celebrating if you're a Northern Colorado fan. You know what goes well with game day? Is Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's is changing the game when it comes to game day food. They've got incredible chicken fingers. Their cane sauce goes well with literally everything. I should do an experiment where I put cane sauce on just some crazy stuff because I don't think you can go wrong with it. But crinkle cut fries, I mean, it is a full deal over at Raising Cane's. I've talked about how much I love using and getting Raising Cane's anytime I go on road trips, but game day, that's another solid combination. Raising Cane's and game day go hand in hand. So pair those big plays, big flavors. It's how Cane's does game day. So rally your team, make your next tailgate a touchdown. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, it's one love. Also got to give some love to our friends over at Bet365 because at Bet365 we don't do ordinary. And Spencer, you've got 3 games left. It kind of feels like the end of an era. 3 official anti-Rockies parlays, although I'm sure next year we'll be able to throw some anti-Rockies parlays out there. But what do you got this last Giants series?
So we've got Herman Marquez on the bump tonight against who's pitching for the Giants? I just had this.
I have no idea.
And the Giants are also they're officially eliminated. So they
are officially eliminated.
This is a bowl off. This is two teams ready to play their last 3 games of the season and be done with the 2025 season. Nobody more than the Rockies, though. Of course, T. McDonald is pitching for the Giants. So I think I'm just going to go with a simple one for tonight. Honestly, the Rockies have struggled to score in general. So I'm going to take Giants money line, which is minus 245. And then when you scroll down and you find the the Rockies the Rockies team totals, you go to, I think, under 1.5, let's go under 2.5 runs. So you put those two together, the Rockies score under 2.5 runs and the Giants win the game. That's plus 140. So you're getting plus odds on that. I don't see the Rockies. I mean, Blaine Crim will probably homer again or probably double and get driven in again, but that's about the extent of the Rockies offense as of this moment is number 16, Blaine Crim, the Crim Reaper. So I don't see them scoring more than 2 runs tonight. And then, of course, the Giants are the Giants. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are playing at, is it Oracle Park now? AT&T Park? What is
Oracle
it called?
Park.
Oracle Park is like a house of horrors for the Rockies. So I don't envision them winning any of these 3 games. Hey, we got 43. We're not going to lose 120. Happy as a clam over here.
No, yeah. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. See why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older. Physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. So I talked to Schaefer recently about, his visions for the future and he obviously can only speak from a player perspective. He was not talking organizationally. But I'd ask him, hey, when you envision a Rockies team that can win baseball games, what do you see? And he was talking about the fact that he believes the Rockies need more contact hitters. Obviously, the Rockies strike out a lot, right? That's a byproduct of being a Rocky. It's just, I don't think the Rockies have ever not struck out a lot, even when they've been good. But so I understand his mindset of like, hey, we need to fix that. We need to be a team that can get on base and just not strike out and just have contact hitters. A bunch of Tyler Freemans is what he's talking about. But I kind of disagree. I mean, look around Major League Baseball at the teams that are good. There's not really one team that just, maybe the Guardians maybe are a team that's like just a get on base at all costs type of team. But the good teams have what I like to call bangers. And the Rockies, aside from maybe Blaine Crim at the moment, we'll see if that lasts, the Rockies don't have any bangers. And yes, just having guys who hit home runs doesn't guarantee you a spot in the postseason. See the Yankees and the struggles that they had with an insanely powerful offense. But you need those guys. The Mariners are a perfect example of a team that has kind of some all-around hitters. Yeah, they've got some contact guys, but you've got 3 or 4 players that can absolutely smash a baseball, and also the leading home run king right now on their team in Cal Raleigh. So I look around the teams that are making it to the postseason, and like, you've got 3 or 4 guys in every lineup that can just hit the ball 500 feet and do it kind of consistently. I don't think the Rockies need more contact. I think you need 5 guys that can hit 40 plus home runs in a season.
I agree. I think there's a balance. The problem is they don't have anything. It's not like they have a bunch of contact hitters and you're looking for bangers, or you have a bunch of guys that are bangers and you're like, all right, we need to supplement this with contact hitters. Like it's nothing. It's guys that don't hit home runs and guys that strike out a lot. I mean, Luis Castillo, 10 strikeouts, and on what was that, Wednesday night. Yeah, he just mowed us down. Tuesday night, we get mowed down. Last night, some guy named E something, I was just looking his name, I don't even know, never heard of him, McDonald or something like that. 7 strikeouts. And you can't, like, you can get away with striking out if you hit home runs, to your point, but you also can't just hit home runs and never, and strike out 12 to 15 times a game, because then there's issues there. So the problem with the Rockies is they don't have any of them. I would lean towards the fact that they play 81 games at Coors Field. I would lean towards getting at least 2 or 3 contact guys. The guys like Tyler Freeman are perfect for the Rockies, because they're going to get, like, Tyler Freeman has a ton of singles this year. That's what he does. I think he's hit 1 home run or 2 this whole season. But when you play at Coors Field, that outfield is so big that contact hitters will be more successful at Coors Field, because even those guys will catch a few that fly out of Coors Field that wouldn't fly out of other stadiums. Now, when you go play 81 games on the road, then everything kind of changes. But if they're building a team that, the foundation of the Rockies winning would be winning at Coors Field and then trying to win other places to supplement all those wins that you're getting at Coors Field if you're looking to be a team that's competing for the playoffs. And contact-wise, they're not doing that either. It's strikeout after strikeout after strikeout, especially in, I would love to go back. It'd be way too much time for one number, but I'd love to go back and see the amount of times the Rockies this year have had guy on third and one less than 2 outs and have not gotten the run in because they're striking out. And it's not even like, oh, they put the ball in play, they hit it hard, it just went to the infield that was in, and then you didn't score. No, it's like this guy's striking out on 3 or 4 pitches and not even giving you a shot to score that run. So it wouldn't have changed the season and by any means, but there's just the Rockies don't even do the little things well, which the really good teams, they do. There's guys that pop like Cal Raleigh and this and that. But like the perfect example is Tuesday night's game. The Rockies out hit the Mariners. They look like they're about to win a game in Seattle, kind of ruin the Mariners party at that point. And your bullpen comes in. They have no control, which has been a problem all year for any Rockies pitchers. Not necessarily, yes, they have the worst ERA, and their starters have the worst ERA in baseball. The bullpen has the 29th worst ERA, so they're giving up a lot of runs. But the reason they give up a lot of runs is because they can't throw strikes, and they're not throwing enough strikes. They're walking guys. I mean, it was like hit by pitch, walk here. And then all of a sudden, what do you have in a good baseball team? You have a Josh Naylor who comes up. They've been shut out all night, basically. And, a great start from McCade Brown, and Ryan Roland Smith gave McCade Brown his flowers and was like, wow, I was impressed watching him pitch. You've shut them down. You shut this like insanely good lineup down all night, but they get the big hits in the or the big moments. And those little things like having a Naylor, having guys like that just get you those big hits are huge when you're trying to make the playoffs and be a really good team like the Mariners are.
Yeah, and I think it can be a balance, like you said. I'm not saying that you should have a team full of Michael Tolias where you're either hitting a home run or striking out, or even a team full of Blaine Crims. You'll have maybe 1 or 2 guys. I mean, you look at Giancarlo Stanton for the Yankees. He's a chronic strikeout or home run guy. But I think if you can find a handful of Hunter Goodmans, and the point I'm making with the whole bangers versus hitters comment is Hunter Goodman, for example. Yes, he's had some good on base percentage at times throughout the season. He's been a good overall hitter. He doesn't just hit home runs. He's got 30 home runs, but he's not just known for hitting home runs. But home runs just mean a hell of a lot more, right? And especially if you can have some other guys that can get on base at times, have that balance. You need those 2 or 3 guys in the lineup who can hurt you from a power perspective. Because, again, like the Mariners, you've got the bottom half of the lineup that, you got guys who can kind of get on base occasionally or relatively consistently. And then you get to the top of the lineup and your first 4 guys can all hit the ball out. And so it's like if you can have that kind of balance between the two, it's a perfect combination. But like you said, the Rockies don't have any of that. And right now, Blaine Crim is kind of the only guy who does anything offensively for the Rockies. I've been so disappointed. One of the many things I've been disappointed about. I've been so disappointed about how this season has ended for the Rockies because, yes, we knew they weren't going anywhere. But coming out the second half, the Rockies looked like a semi-competent baseball team. At least offensively, their pitching was terrible. But offensively, you were like, hey, the Rockies will score 6 runs tonight. At minimum, they'll score 3. And our pitching just has to not be awful. And I have confidence the Rockies will be in the game. I have no confidence that the Rockies will even score 1 run at this point in every single game that they're in. The offense has completely fallen off the face of the earth. And whatever, the season's a wash. These young guys just need to reset. They need to get to the offseason. I mean, I'm more focused on other teams than I am the Rockies right now. But, man, I'm just disappointed with how the Rockies are limping to the finish line right now. I get it's a bunch of 22-year-olds, but God, can it be more embarrassing the way, I mean, they show up in Seattle and yes, the first game was kind of close, but it's like it's the rest of it, it's not even close. Like put up a fight. It just looked terrible.
Yeah, something that perfectly encapsulates the Rocky season is I'm on our little rundown of the show here, and then I get an email pop up on my computer, and it's from the Rockies, and it's 3 games left in the regular season, and the title of this, My Chemical Romance Concert, August 27th of 26. That's what they're promoting with 3 days left in the baseball season. It's absurd. Along with the fact that I don't think we've actually talked about this on the show, but it's hilarious to me. The Rockies schedule the Top Golf Upper Deck scenario at Coors Field, which is electric, by the way. I'll give them that. During the middle of the World Series, and they schedule this 6-8 months out every time. Like there's nothing that tells you that they don't, not that they don't care about winning. We kind of pushed back on that on Monday's show, but that they know where they're at as an organization very clearly. And they're going to just fill up Coors Field however you can in the offseason.
They're prepared not to win. We'll put it that way. They would love to stumble into a shocking, winning season, but they're prepared for the inevitable elimination graphic to come out in the month of September or even August in our case this year, and then have plenty of time on our hands here in the month of October, which is why I want to focus on the postseason a little bit, because really at this point, until some of the front office stuff changes, this show is going to turn into a postseason show. There's so many good stories across Major League Baseball. Yeah, we'll try to tie things back into the Rockies from time to time, but over the next month, we're talking about the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Guardians, the Blue Jays, the Mariners. We're talking Major League Baseball as a whole, because this has the potential to be one of the best postseasons, at least from a matchup perspective, that I could think of in recent memory. The matchups are electric. So we got to pause for a quick moment, hit our last break. Let's talk a little postseason baseball when we come back. All right, postseason baseball. Before we get into postseason, real quick though, I want to kind of finish things up here, Rockies related stuff. Got to see Mr. Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh, playing in person, which was incredible. Obviously, some insane baseball. Is that the best? Is that the best nickname in all of baseball this year? Because I'm thinking, although he's not as well known by any means, Blaine Crim has some underrated nicknames that you could throw out there that might, if he was better, rival Big Dumper.
Yeah, I think the Crim Reaper, Smooth Criminal, Crim de la Crim, he's got some great options. And just for the content purposes, I hope he's on the roster next year, because honestly, what he's done, yes, his average isn't great, but the pace that he's on home run wise and extra base hit wise is honestly incredible. And it could be a flash in the pan. We've seen multiple flashes in the pan this season, and we see it every Rocky season with a guy that we think is the next future of the team. But Blaine Crim's been a fun story, and Big Dumper definitely has the best nickname. Just the fact that in 2025 doesn't seem like a nickname that would be that circulated. And did you hear on Tuesday night when they won the game and they interviewed him after the game? Did you hear what they've been playing that on the morning show here on the radio just over and over again when he lets the F word fly, and then the chick goes, "Naughty Cal, you naughty Cal," and I'm just dying because she knows, like, and I love, dude.
And he did it again. He did it again 2 days ago.
Yeah, he is just the most unassuming looking guy. Like, if you just looked at him with like jeans and a t-shirt on, you'd be like, this guy works at Tractor Supply or something like that. He's just a very unassuming looking dude. And he's going to hit probably 62 home runs this year and tie the record. And electric scenes in Seattle and Big Dump, like Polar Bear, Lefty says Polar Bear. That's a really good one. I'm trying to think of some old Rockies.
One of my old favorites was the Freak, Tim Lincecum. That was just encapsulated who Tim Lincecum was. That was a good one.
I'm trying to think if there was any good old Rockies nicknames. A lot of them were just kind of short.
Who was Galarraga?
Oh, the Big Cat.
The Big Cat. Yep. Big Cat.
We had a bunch of just like shortened names with the Rockies, like World Series team. Like you had Brad Hopp, and they just called him Hopper. There's some. What about
Spilly?
Yeah, Spilly. Exactly. Wasn't there a closer that had a nickname like a? Now I'm struggling to think.
I'm sure there is. Help us out in the chat, folks. I'm sure there's plenty. There's a lot of good nicknames, but at least this year, Big Dumper is elite nickname. But Blaine Crim, if he could put together a good season next year, I'm throwing his name in the mix as early nominations for best multiple nicknames in all of baseball. Also, I was going to say, before we get into postseason stuff, did you see the Rockies rookies did their little tradition where they dressed up and showed up to Seattle in what was it? I think it was the waiters, and then also the like salmon costume, the fish costumes.
Yeah, that was obviously. When you see stuff like that, when you're the Mariners, you're like, oh, that's really cute and fun. And then I see stuff and I'm like, just fucking let's just win a baseball game, and that's me being very like boomer status of just the frustration and the beatdown that we've had for
Yeah.
159 games. But overall, cool, fun, just not the, it's like not now. Don't do this now.
Yeah.
Rockies
I was gonna
admins
say-
like cooking that up. They're like, yeah, this is going to be a banger. And then at 74 comments of sell the team, sell the team.
Literally, I literally put in the rundown bad taste because they were just getting roasted for it. It's like, hey, maybe if the Rockies spent more time focusing on winning baseball games, than dressing up as salmon going to Seattle just to get absolutely clobbered in Seattle. But yeah, I mean, you can't not do those kind of things. Your entire team is just rookies, so it's a pretty it's tradition that has to keep going. But I agree, it was pretty funny to see that, and I'm like, oh man, this is not going to go well with the fans. Also, shout out to that one fan. I don't know if you saw this, Spence. I posted this on Twitter. Shout out to that one Rockies fan in the $700 per game Diamond Club's tickets last night at the Mariners game in Seattle, holding up the sell the Rocks please sign. Did you see that?
No, I did not see that.
Oh, go on Twitter. I posted the picture, the screenshot of it. There was just some random Rockies fan in Diamond Club, which, like I said, it's like $700 just per game, probably more now that the Mariners are actually good. Sitting right behind home plate with two little signs that just said "Sell the Rocks, please," and he would just hold it up behind like Cal Raleigh's at bats or whatever. Incredible. So
Did you
that guy's out there doing the Lord's work.
100%, even on an away game, like we need
Yeah.
we need Rockies, man. We need Mr. Purple, even though, Mr. Purple's not the kind of guy that would maybe put something like that out, but he'd be the guy that we need to rally behind and go to all these stadiums and just be full Rockies, but also realize where we're at and what needs to change in order to make this a winning team again. Did you also see the Cal Raleigh 60th home run ball story?
Yeah, that was cool. That was
Yeah,
cool.
the guy like gave it to a kid, and then they were trying to find who the guy was, and the Mariners were looking for him. I don't know if they'd found him or not, but
They did. So Cal Raleigh met with both the kid and the guy. So they found the guy and they brought him. They paid for him to come to the game yesterday, and Cal Raleigh gave him a signed bat and a bunch of like memorabilia stuff and like hung out with him and the kid. Who this guy's not related to this kid, just some random kid. So they brought the guy and the kid and this kid's family, and they all got to meet Cal before the game. So yeah, that was super cool. Like that, especially in today's day and age where you know, you've got like a bunch of grown adults acting like children when it comes to baseballs. And for a guy to catch a ball that's worth a hell of a lot of money, I mean, this is no Shohei Ohtani, but this is still the 60th home run for Cal Raleigh. And to just immediately turn and give it to a kid, props to that guy. That is a awesome thing for that guy to do.
you
But
got to
yeah,
think
yeah, that was pretty cool.
he didn't know the severity of that, right? Like he's not that like if you're I do understand that adults act like children, and we've had this, these home runs and the Karen in the stands a couple weeks ago taking that home run ball from the kid, but you got to
Yeah.
believe that he wasn't quite aware of the severity of that home run
He,
ball when he gave it up.
he did kind of say, he was like, yeah, I was just kind of in the heat of the moment and I just saw the kid there and I gave it to the kid. Not saying like that he wouldn't have done it if he had realized it, but kind of saying like, I just didn't even think about it, which is cool. Good to have a good heart, to do something like that. But I want to talk about the postseason just for a little bit. Like I said, this show will kind of start transitioning since the Rockies are basically done, unless there's Rocky specific news, which God, I hope there will be. Um, we're going to probably talk a lot about, just baseball in general over the next couple weeks. We are still going to keep doing two shows a week, probably until the end of the World Series, I would think, because there's some good baseball that's going to be happening around the world. So, um, can we get like a collective poll in the chat? Who are you guys rooting for in this postseason? You guys know who I'm rooting for. I'm going to be going 100% in on the Mariners. I will be breaking out my old vintage Mitch Haniger Seattle Mariners jersey that's collecting dust in my closet for this postseason. Uh, but who are you guys rooting for? Drop a comment in the chat. Spence, who I know you're kind of on board with the Mariners too, just because of the storylines. The Mariners feel like the West Coast Rockies. We can relate to them as an organization. But aside from the Mariners, who's your go-to for this postseason?
I think my NL team is going to be the Cubs. I am excited to
I
see
like
the
that.
the Cubs like make another postseason run. That's just a fun city. I've been to Chicago quite a bit with having our other market there, and those guys, that city kind of deserves something like that, because them watching the Bears and the Blackhawks and the Bulls, like I feel so bad for them every other month out of the year. And now it was baseball season too. It's like you guys are just getting beaten to a pulp 12 months out of the year, no matter what team you're watching play. And then you have the Cubs just kind of not come out of nowhere, but we're one of the best teams in baseball all year. And I think the interesting part about this postseason for sure is the Dodgers, and there's rosters that if you just on, March 25th or the day before the season, put these rosters out there, you're like, oh, this one's clearly better than that one. But having the whole season and seeing what's transpired and the amazing story of the Guardians, like I'm kind of like rooting for the Guardians just because of how cool that story is. Very Rocky-esque, like 15 games back in July or whatever. And I've gone on a complete tear, and I guess happy for Nolan Jones. Tyler Freeman's got to be like, what the fuck? But there's no team playing baseball right now that you would say, hey, they're a favorite to make the World Series. Like there's no team that's just absolutely. I mean, honestly, if there is a team, it's probably the Mariners. They swept the Astros to kind of change their, the trajectory of their season, if you will. If they get swept in that series, maybe they don't even make the playoffs. They sweep the Astros, then they sweep the tough, mighty rookie Rockies, and now they're headed into their last series. They won a division championship. So there's no Goliath to me. I mean, yes, the Yankees and the Dodgers are always that, but right in this moment and the baseball that they're playing, to me, there's no clear favorite to win the World Series and even be in it. I couldn't tell you, like, the Blue Jays, the Mariners, the Guardians, like there's so many different ways this could go. The Tigers, if they end up getting in.
Dude, the Red Sox could end up being a contender, right? Like, I mean, there's so many ways this could go. Felix, you better be talking about the Dodgers being the Goliath, because you better not say that you're rooting for the Dodgers in this. You can't call yourself a Rockies fan and root for the Dodgers at the same time. I'm going to be although I'm just going to contradict myself here. I'm going to be kind of rooting for the Yankees, which is hard to call yourself a Rockies fan and root for the Yankees in the same sentence. But I'm going to kind of root for the Yankees just for the Rymack situation. We're actually talking about doing some watch-alongs for this postseason, and I want to do a couple Yankees watch-alongs just to see how Rymack does and get to see all of that go through. But um, the Cubs are a great story. I'm still all in on the Mariners. I would love to see, from a matchup perspective, I'd love to see a Dodgers Padres NLCS. I'd love to see a Mariners Yankees ALCS, because if you don't know, the Yankees and the Mariners rivalry is kind of like the Rockies and the Dodgers rivalry, where like the Yankees have always been historically good and the Mariners have always been historically bad. But anytime the Yankees come play in Seattle, it's like sold out, crowd, 90% Yankees fans. So true Mariners fans hate the Yankees with a passion. The Yankees are the Dodgers to the Mariners. So a Mariners Yankees ALCS would go so hard. That would be so much fun. So I could see like a Mariners Yankees ALCS and a Dodgers Padres NLCS would be must watch baseball, like matchup wise. You also could possibly see the Yankees and Red Sox. I mean, some such good baseball coming up.
Let me ask you this question in a Rockies frame, a Rockies light, if you will. Also, I'm looking at the standings right now. The Guardians are 86 and 73, and they actually have a negative run differential. That's absolutely insane.
Yes.
But let me ask you this question in a Rockies, light to kind of finish the show up. Let's say this postseason, let's say Mariners, Guardians. Once again, I don't know if this is possible. Nobody really knows as of right now because nothing's fully locked in. Let's say it's Mariners, Guardians, and then the NLCS is Brewers, Cubs. Cubs are a bigger market team, but does that make you... Actually, let's say the Reds make it. Let's say it's Brewers, Reds, and the Reds make the playoffs. They end up going to the NLCS. Does that make it worse as a Rockies fan, seeing the teams that are in your bubble, your financial
Like
smaller market bubble? Does that make it worse as a Rockies fan, or is it fun to cheer for those teams that are like you to win? Or would it be easier for everybody in Rockies glasses that it's like, Yankees, Red Sox, or Yankees, not Tigers are in that. Yankees, Red Sox, and then, Padres, Dodgers. Like, would that make it easier on the stomach, or do you want to see those small market teams succeed?
I want to see the world burn in Dick Monfort's eyes when this postseason shows up. If it makes his arguments of how he runs his baseball team more inaccurate by seeing small market teams succeeding and the Rockies not being one of them, I I'm rooting for that. So yes, to answer your question, I think it would be great to see three or four small to mid-level market teams in the postseason and to be able to show Dick Monfort that, hey man, you keep saying that it's just the Dodgers, they're what's wrong with baseball, and that's why the Rockies can't win. And what Major League Baseball is showing you is that that's not the case. The Rockies just don't do things the right way. That, to me, is the way that I think these things need to go. By the way, just a quick heads up, we are heading into overtime. So for those of you watching on television, head to the DNVR.com to continue the conversation just for a moment or two. But yeah, so that's my take on that. I would love to see a couple small market teams fighting it out in the championship series, maybe even the World Series, and just be able to completely, I don't know, make that argument a moot argument for Dick Monfort, because I do think I think that's what he tries to lean on, is this argument that, like, we're a small market team, we play at elevation, so we can never compete with the Dodgers, we can never compete with the Padres, it's impossible. And then you go and you see a World Series that, is the Mariners and, God, I don't know. You see like the Mariners and the Guardians,
Brewers,
and
Mariners, Brewers would be
Mariners and
legit.
Brewers.
Yeah, and you look at the NL standings right now. The Brewers are 6 games up on the Dodgers. So yes, you can compete with them. You just have to start from the top down, flush the poop out, all the way out, all the way down, all the way to the sewer, and start new.
Do some internal counseling, man. You gotta take a look in the mirror. But yeah, so I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. So you'll probably see after this Rocky season ends, which is in 3 days. You'll probably, or 2 days actually. You'll probably see some more national baseball topics on our show, because this is a good time to be a baseball fan, and I'm excited. I know, Spencer, I know your kid's going to be a little bummed, not getting to watch the Rockies, but maybe you can make him a undercover Mariners fan or something.
I mean, I think he's still under the delusion that any baseball is Rockies. So I've got a couple more weeks of tricking him into watching postseason baseball with me. Just like, Rockies are starting, bud.
Rockies are starting, bud. Look at that guy. He's hit 60 plus home runs.
Yeah.
Go Rockies. I love it. All right, we're going to wrap things up here on the show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll be back on Monday for another edition of the DNVR Rockies Now postseason podcast coming up next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Good baseball in our future. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys next time. This has been the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.